Hi, this is Dr. Scott Young, and today we're going to talk about the Trump cabinet. We're going to talk about some election issues, and we're also going to talk about the Fed freakout. Coming right up. I have to tell you about this little story. So on Twitter, this one person who frankly, she freaks out all the time, right? She would freak out about something. I would try to calm her down. She'd go, "Thank you so much," right? And I think in June, I had said, I don't see any way that there would come to an election. That's just was my personal opinion, right? And then we're on election day, and she goes, "Admit it, you were wrong about the election." I was like, "Yeah, so what?" I mean, listen, I'm not leading the military. I'm not leading the way that they want to do it. And this is a fluid point that I'm sure what's occurring out there. And you might say, "Well, then you're wrong." Okay. You want to say I'm wrong? Fine. Do you want to say that we're wrong about everything that's going on? So what if I'm wrong about the order with that too? Do you know that war is organized chaos? And we're trying to do this predictively, and it's difficult. I don't want to be wrong, but I also know that sometimes the military is doing something on an order that it's hard for us to understand. So instead of getting all pissed off about that issue and being out of order in this, you're still thinking in the matrix in that way. You might say, "Well, you were too because you thought it that way." I'm thinking way beyond this point. Because I'm trying to look at the orders doesn't mean that I don't see some of the matrix. Now, there are things I don't see, okay? But here's what I want you to catch. Did we need an election? Guys, if you haven't fixed 2020 and you haven't fixed 2022, did you think that 2024 wasn't going to have voter and election fraud? We know it. Senator Ron Johnson, I believe in Iowa, is talking with the people who are, they have machines that are unplugged and other machines that are plugged into situations that look like the internet connections. Like, come on. We have Carrie Lake, who I want to talk about in a future video here, who's fighting through with this guy, Rubin. And Rubin has said he wants Carrie Lake to die. Is this about voter fraud and election fraud? Have you fixed it? No. Now, I'm guessing now, this is a guess of what I see, is that Trump had to have, overwhelming support, like a verbal overwhelming support. And that's really what happened, okay? Maybe it sets him up. He's been the CIC since 2021 through 2024. Maybe it sets him up now as the president-elect. He's outside of his oath. Oh. Who's inside of their oath? Those who are under the 14th Amendment under the 3rd section. If you have oaths of office, every one of those idiots have oaths of office. And if you have an oath of office, guess what? The military is coming for you. There is a conversation that Sheriff Mack said, and I'm going to bring this up for you guys, because when you understand what he said of the government duties, because this will make sense when we do this here, okay? Government duties. Number 1, investigate treason. Number 2, deal with counterfeit ID and monetary counterfeit. Obviously it means monetary counterfeit, but then you have to ID the person. And it also is talking about the identification. And by the way, the FBI and all of the other agencies have had massive levels of fraud that I've shared with each one of them, and they don't take it. They haven't done anything about it with all this QFS fraud stuff that's happening. And this is the kind of stupid that's going on in the background. They're supposed to deal with felonies on the high seas. That means other countries in essence. Protect our borders. Have we done that? Fix violation of treaties. No, that's not a huge issue for us right now, but there probably are some issues with that would come up. And they haven't done that. Those people have oaths of office, and they're going to go down. Those people have no idea how much this is coming. Okay, so let me show you a couple of videos here that are very interesting. We'll pause in the middle of some of these and kind of give you some information with that too.
Is in West Palm Beach with the latest.
President-elect Donald Trump wasting no time setting up his staff for his next White House term, and his first move is a historic one.
Susie likes to stay sort of in the back.
Political strategist Susie Wiles is stepping out from her behind-the-scenes role as...
Wait a second. Didn't they say that Kamala and Joe had brought on the most women and the most diverse group, but they never had a chief of staff woman? Huh. And Trump is a misogynist?
President-elect Donald Trump's longtime advisor and successful campaign manager, now tapped to become the first female White House chief of staff when he returns to the Oval Office early next year.
She has no ego. She is an amazing woman. She is a...
Okay, look at that name right there. Tudor Dixon, former Michigan governor race. Did she win in, what was it, 2020 or whatever the time frame that she was in, instead of Whitmer, who actually created a scam to get herself, kidnapped, and it was a complete scam by her FBI, Secret Service, whatevers that she had. Did that woman actually win? I'm telling you, there's stuff you're missing and you don't see it. I want you to see it when we look at the stuff.
Perfect combination of talent and toughness. She does not let any shenanigans go on around her.
Other names rumored to be on the short list.
Okay, so I don't want you to get too worried about each one of them. Ken Paxton is the AG in Texas. I would say he would be unbelievable. He talks about election issues. He talks about border issues. He would kick some butt in there. Treasury Secretary, I don't think that's anyone but Steve Mnuchin. Secretary of State, I don't really care. Grinnell, maybe, I don't care. You know that Kennedy here, RFK, is going to be, he's going to basically rip down the FDA, CDC, and NIH, and probably others. Many of these other people are going to do a bunch of stuff that you'll be surprised about.
For a seat at the table, one-time rival Florida Senator Marco Rubio is in the running for Secretary of State. Formerly in that role, Mike Pompeo is being considered.
Not Mike Pompeo. By the way, you're not seeing it here, but he's got a massive mask on. That isn't the same guy.
Considered for Secretary of Defense. And his former competitor, North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum, could be named the next Energy Secretary.
Fantastic choice with Susie Wiles. They're going to have the pick of the litter in putting together a fantastic team to help drive our country forward.
Meanwhile, the White House is coming to terms with the results of the election.
Think about that for a second. They're coming to terms with the election. Do you know that Kamala possibly spent $1 billion on her campaign? I'm going to pull this off her screen for half a second. $1 billion on her campaign. She spent $100,000 with Call Me Your Daddy or some stupid podcast idiots just to bring them to DC and to put together a set. She is so deep in that debt point. Do you understand? That's actually telling you another story. They're out of money. They've been out of money for a long time.
We accept the choice the country made.
Still, some Democrats are expressing frustration over Vice President Kamala Harris's failure to win the race.
What can we do as a party to let people know that we hear them and we act on representing them and where they want to be represented and what they want us to fight for?
And back to Trump's cabinet, we'll also likely see roles for billionaire Elon Musk, RFK Jr., and Trump's former challenger Vivek Ramaswamy.
Okay, so let's show you another one.
Calm, professional transition.
The federal government prepares for changes as President-elect Trump readies his team for Inauguration Day, January 20th. Susie Wiles will take over as White House Chief of Staff. the first woman to the position in history, and Republicans are on track to control Congress, winning the Senate and inching closer to taking the House.
Now, let's pause for that one for a second. I've said that, you can't really do this without having, both House and Senate. But who's in the House and who's in the Senate? Which one are cabal? We still have to deal with the cabal issues. What? Who's in there? Who are cabal members? How about AOC? Do you think she's cabal? Tlaib in Minnesota, cabal? We haven't dealt with them yet. This isn't over, guys. This doesn't happen. You don't chip away at it. You have to do it as a big filled swoop. This has got to keep happening. There's much more going on here.
What the president cannot control, the Federal Reserve's monetary policy.
Oh gosh, guys, watch this one. Here's the Fed freak out. She says, oh, but he can't control the Federal Reserve's monetary policy. They're about ready to give you a big piece of pie that you've never heard of. I've told you the Fed is dead. Look at what Powell says.
President-elect Trump mused about firing Fed Chair Jerome Powell, or even bringing the Fed under control of the executive branch.
Wait, bringing the Fed under control under the executive branch is exactly what Trump did in April of 2020 when he pulled them in under the executive branch and defunded them. They're telling you the story. This is another conversation of it. It already happened.
Some of the president-elect's advisors have suggested that you should resign. If he asked you to leave, would you go?
No. Do you believe that the president has the power to fire or demote you, and has the Fed determined the legality of a president demoting at will any of the other governors with leadership positions?
Not permitted under the law.
Guys, do you understand? They're telling you the points. That already occurred. Why do you think that they've been spending money on Ukraine so drunken sailorly? When you really look at the CARES 2 Act, they started telling you all the crazy things they were spending billions and billions of dollars on. Throughout the idiot time frame of Biden, they spent money, they pulled away money from the pipelines in the northern United States all the way to Alaska, the Alaskan pipelines. They pulled away all of these amazing jobs. They ground everything to a halt. They did all this stuff because they had no ability to run everything. He was letting them run themselves under the bus. And on top of that, they were derailing trains left and right. And, the EPA didn't care about them. All of those agencies are going down. This is a bigger issue than you'll ever understand. Realize the Fed is already dead, but they're now telling you the new story. Are you listening?